Hello and welcome to Velosio Viewpoint Live, where we join you on a bi-weekly basis to chat all things cloud, digital transformation, ERP, CRM, IT security, and so much more to help your organization go from what is to what is possible. Now, before we get into today's conversation, I just want to make sure that whether you are tuning in live or on the replay on LinkedIn or YouTube, that you go ahead and hit follow or subscribe wherever those buttons are on your platform. And this just makes sure you don't miss anything coming up, especially when we're talking about AI, because this is actually part of a three-part series where we're going to dive into some different topics that are really affecting organizations today and what that is looking like for you. So I want to make sure people have access to get notified every time we go live on this topic. And of course, the other topics that we have here at Velosio. So with that said, my name is Jessica Rodriguez. I am the digital marketing manager here at Velosio. And with me, I have Erin Moon, who I've reached out to because I would love to be able to have a conversation that's kind of going beyond, let's say, the hype of AI. We know that AI has been around and been in the conversation for some years now. And depending on your experience with it, you may have different thoughts and feelings and who knows what, right, going on as far as how this can help support you moving forward and especially support your organization. So with that, let's just start with, hello, Erin. Give us a quick intro to you, what you do here at Velosio.
Sure. Thanks, Jessica. It's great to be here. Great to be talking with you and talking about AI, which is on my mind a lot these days. So I manage our apps and automation team here at Velosio, and I'm often in conversations with organizations around, the use of AI, talking about what it is, what it isn't, how should we be thinking about it, what should we be doing. And there's lots of questions still, lots of exciting new things to explore as we're embarking into this new age of AI and technology.
Yes. And, even starting out there, there's so much excitement around it. There's also, I would say, maybe some overwhelm or people just aren't sure, right? Different ways to implement it for what their needs are. And I'm thinking, let's start with kind of the most common reasons that you're seeing why leaders specifically may not have moved forward with AI.
Yeah, I think maybe just speaking, from personal experience, it's really hard to move forward when you just don't even know what it is, right? You don't even know where to start. And so I think education is the first thing that you have to do, right? Is start to familiarize yourself as much as possible with the conversations that people are having, the new technologies that are coming out. Because for the I still feel this, but for the longest time it was, man, this sounds like this cool thing, but I just don't even know how to start, right? I don't even know like what to do. And so I think it's the little things of just starting to get more familiar, starting to talk about it, starting to think about it. That's personally and organizationally. And I think as you do, you'll start to find ways to step into it. So I think that's one big reason. I think there's also, some concerns, right? There's people who have valid concerns about security, about how is the AI going to be used, what it can do, what it can't do. And those are all things that we need to be talking about and discussing as well. So I think those are maybe the two biggest things that I see is just kind of not knowing what to do. And then, that hesitation around security concerns or kind of that, being scared of what it might be.
Do you ever see almost like this gap of, I can't see the value of it because I don't even have the capacity to take the time to learn it. So it's like, it's hard to see the value of something that you don't really understand, but then it feels like this big catch 22 because I don't have the time to dig into all of this stuff to understand it.
Certainly. I mean, I think that's probably a reoccurring, theme with any technology transformation, right? Is I don't want to learn the new thing, right? Because I've got my thing that I'm doing now. It's working fine. I'm busy. It's just that's just, and the more and more I'll probably say this as we go. I mean, I'm just trying to bring it back into when I talk to people and ground it as it's just another technology tool, right? It's just like going from paper to digital. It's a step, it's a technology change, and we're going to have change management needs and people that are fast movers and slow movers, quick adopters, slow adopters. And that's okay, right? That's okay. And there's certainly a level of, man, it's hard to change. It's hard to embrace it. It's hard to just take that brain power and focus it on learning something new to figure out what it is and what it isn't.
Yes. And sometimes I know I even challenge myself. It's like, this works. It's like, but could it work better? Right? Like, could it work more efficiently? Could you be thanking yourself later if you take this time? Right. And just kind of catch those moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's, that's not an AI thing. It's just a general thing, right?
Yep.
It's the thing we can all do is try to get better, try to improve.
Absolutely. And what would you say are some of the biggest myths or maybe misconceptions that you are correcting every time? This is probably in those initial meetings when you're talking to people and it's like, yeah, I know. Let me explain.
Yeah. I think the biggest misconception is, that it's going to take over the world. And maybe I'll put a asterisk there as, going to take over the world right now or tomorrow. Who knows what the future will hold, right? Who knows what we'll be saying in 10 years and 20 years. But I think the biggest thing is like, sometimes we see the technology and we say, oh, wow, it can do everything, right? It can do it can fix this big problem. I have a problem, AI, it'll just fix it, right? And we're still very much in the, it's a tool in the tool belt that we can use to fix problems. But a lot of times we still have to get to that small problem first, right? We have to get to those low level, this is the thing we're doing, and here's this little thing that we're struggling with, and we fix that, right? And then we go to the next thing and we say, okay, the next step is this, and it's hard to do, and we fix that, right? So I think one misconception is just that it's going to do everything automagically, right? And the reality is we still have to, we go step by step. And I think we'll be building kind of this, this thing as we go that'll eventually end up as this large kind of AI process, but it's the piece by piece that matters. So I think that's probably the biggest kind of misconception. And then other things are just, understanding what it does and what it doesn't, right? We say AI, what do you mean, right? There's lots of different technologies that we kind of lump into AI. If that's large language models that can understand and read text, right? That can speak like a chat, like a human, or read and process text. Is it something that can generate an image? You can go down these different kind of rabbit holes of these new technologies. So I think that's the other thing. It's just, again, go back to the education of what are we talking about, right? What do we actually mean when we say AI?
Yeah. And speaking of it in such a broad term, even between the two of us, like I'm going to use it completely different in marketing than you're going to use it just because we do different things within our role.
Yeah.
And then I always think it's funny if the conversation is around, I don't want to use AI because XYZ, right? Fill in the reason. You're probably already using it and you don't realize. So you're just going to like add on to it, right? In a different way and more customized to you. And, it's here, right? Like it's around us no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that goes to it's just a tool in the tool belt that's going
Yep.
to start being woven into all kinds of things, right? That we're doing. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I'm curious, what do you think is some of the top requirements that leaders need to be thinking of when it comes to adopting AI in an organization, um, versus like kind of what do they believe versus what is the truth here of
Hmm.
what it does take to adopt this?
Sure. There's potentially a lot to unpack there. I think
Mhm.
we can start with the kind of governance and security, right? I think that's the first thing I often will hear IT leaders, being interested in is, um, how are we going to use this? How are we going to use it responsibly? Um, so I think, the something that is maybe a true belief is that we do need to think about the security. We do need to think about if you turn AI on, right? What are you giving it access to? What can people do with it? Those are all things that we do need to be thinking about. I think there's also some misconception, maybe, that if you that it's all dangerous, maybe is the way to say, right?
Mhm.
And I think there are safe ways to use AI models inside of your Microsoft environment, say for instance, right? Um, and you can turn those on. They can be securely within your tenant, within your infrastructure, only accessing the information you give it access to, and not sharing your data out, right? Those are things that are inherent in some of those infrastructures, to keep it high level, right? And so it's not that it's all bad or that you can't do it safely. So I think that's probably the one of the bigger things. And then, I think, in terms of adopting it, um, kind of gaining, actually moving forward with it. I think the biggest thing I keep coming back to is we tend to think it's going to require a large lift, a big effort. Um, and I like to just bring it back to, what are your pain points? What are those things that you could do better, right?
Mhm.
So whether and it's in the small things, not the big things. That's where we start. And I think if you think about it that way, if you focus on small things to begin with, then, you can start that adoption, um, easier than trying to say it's a giant, kind of effort that has to happen all at once.
Mhm. Which makes me think as far as our approach to this. So, when there is a client coming in and they're interested in what AI can do for them, and again, we know this is very broad at first, how would you say that your team and the company as a whole, how we approach AI with clients that makes it different than other options out there?
Yeah, so I think we like to think about, AI and this process as a journey.
Mhm.
We all have to start at different points, and that can be organizationally, you're starting at a certain point, and could be individually, you're starting at different points. And I think we like to, help guide companies through this by starting with education, right? What are we talking about? We got to start there, right? We have to start getting everyone on a level playing field. Education about what it is, what it isn't, and then, about governance, security, how we can turn it on safely. Those are all important things to educate about first. And then second, we like to come alongside you and, uh, help try to identify those kind of small wins. I think that's really where we're trying to be different and trying to focus on, helping you use this new tool, to improve your process, and make small changes now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, as you begin that journey, you start learning, you start trying to use it, that naturally kind of progresses down into something that can be a lot more robust and complex. You can think about having organizational, committees or councils or groups that are driving your strategy, your company strategy. You can think about lots of different little engagements or projects or proof of concepts, right? That you're working on, your company's working on, and infusing AI, into the day to day is kind of the end of the journey, right? It's where you're using this tool to its full potential. If that's in your ERP system, your CRM system, using different features and functionality to help make those processes work better, or if it's outside of those systems, it's personally, it's writing and drafting emails for you, or doing a whole host of other potential things, right?
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate just that focus on education. So it's not assuming that anyone knows pretty much anything, right? Like, where are you in this journey? And let's start there so you actually know either what we're implementing or how to use it, and or how to use it beyond us being in there.
Right. And the reality is it changes. That's what, every 6 months there's something new, right? It seems like the AI trend is just getting faster and faster. So that's the other side is I'm learning. I feel like I just have a small portion of the pie, right?
Yeah.
So you always, need to continue trying to educate yourself as well as those around you, right? So we can all try to push forward.
Mm-hmm. And from your perspective, what would you say at this point, and with everything that you've seen, what is the cost of continuing to delay this? So when it's like, it's been on the list for 2 years, it just keeps getting knocked down as a lower priority.
Yeah.
What's the reality of that cost?
So, yeah, I think, over the last 2 years, I think AI technology has exploded probably, 10x, right? Or it's increasing, it's advancing at just faster and faster pace. And I think 2 years ago, if you said, yeah, this AI thing's kind of interesting, right? Maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years, I was there. I think I was in that camp of, yeah, it seems interesting, seems cool. I'm not really sure how we're going to use it. Not really sure if it's real. And I think now it's just getting closer and closer, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it's becoming more it's becoming more real. It's being used more and more. I'm seeing companies start to adopt it, start to include it in their processes. And so I think the cost of delaying is getting left behind, right? Um, is somebody else kind of figuring out how to use this new thing before you do, and maybe losing some competitive advantage. So I think it's just critical. I think it's really important that every company is at least thinking about it. As I mentioned, it's like transition from paper to digital, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's still people out there that are doing their jobs on paper, right? And there still will be people in the future that are doing their jobs without AI. And some industries are going to be affected in different ways. And so there's always going to be that, the early adopters and those that never adopt.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just really important that, that you try to engage with it, and see how it might be able to help you and help your business.
Yeah, and allow yourself to even explore the opportunities. There's there's so much. I know there's so much I don't know. You don't know, where you see it and you're like, oh, we can do that too. Hold on. Like, let's figure that out.
Yeah. Just trying to, have your antennas up, just have your eyes open. I think that's the most important thing. And it will come, right? Take small steps is my advice. And you'll slowly start picking up, seeing things, understanding more, and seeing how it might be able to relate to you and help you in your processes.
Yeah. And I was just thinking as you were talking, almost that, remember that with anything new, there's some bumps. It doesn't matter what it is. And I know some of the things I first tried, I was like, I'll just do this myself, right? Like there was
Right.
that first, and then you're like, no, actually, this is part of figuring out whether we're talking about prompts or, different things that
Sure.
you need to do.
Yeah, it may not work. And, there's the likelihood it won't work, whatever you're trying the first time. But, what I would say is it might work tomorrow.
Yep.
It's advancing, it's changing. There's more things that people are doing with it every day. And so that's the question is not, if it will ever, it's not if it will ever happen. It's just when, right? It's
Yep.
at some point that thing that you're trying to do will probably work. And so you got to be looking out for it.
Absolutely. And I'd love to hear, I know your team has a lot of really cool stuff that's coming up, how we can better support leaders who do want to make progress, who do want to start either educating themselves, taking those first steps. What would that look like?
Yeah. So we're going to be, putting out lots of information here this year around this AI journey that I'm talking about, that I mentioned, education opportunities, opportunities to collaborate with us, with my team and other teams inside of Velosio, to help to try to, workshop and identify ways that you can use AI in your process. So we'd love to collaborate, love to have a conversation, if anything, just to see, where you are and try to help you along that journey, right? Everybody's going to be coming in at different points, and that's okay, right? We want to meet you where you are and see what information, education that we can provide to help you along.
Absolutely. And we'll be sharing more about that on LinkedIn, on YouTube. So definitely, pay attention throughout this coming month here. But in the meantime, if you do want to reach out to Aaron directly, I put his LinkedIn right in the comments. You can go ahead and start that conversation and take it from there. With that, one, I want to thank you for jumping on, for having this conversation with me. In 2 weeks, we will be meeting back together here and talking about some use cases and just different ways to see how this can solve everyday business problems. So really having that conversation of what is available now. And of course, can just keep getting better. Here's what we have now. And then after that, we'll jump on again to talk about just some different steps that you can be taking forward, whether it's with Velosio, whether it's on your own. Just really, this goes into that education piece, right? Of understanding what you can do to really stay either with or get ahead of your competition, right? And make sure you are leveraging these tools that we do have available. So with that, Aaron, thank you so much again for joining.
Yeah. Of course.
All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day, and we'll be back soon. Bye.